I'm the male lead in a cheesy romance novel, but I can't stand the female lead. When she stumbles, I step aside. When she applies for a job, I reject her. When she begs for help, I ignore her. So I, who was supposed to transform into an obsessive CEO, subjecting her to all kinds of forced affection, toppling entire families at her whim, and committing countless felonies for her sake, ended up being erased by the narrative system, because all I wanted to do every day was flaunt my love for my fiancé. I refused to accept this and argued with the system for 3 days, listing 100 reasons why the female lead didn't deserve love. Finally, I convinced the system to give me a chance at rebirth. I was still the male lead, but this time I got to decide who my female lead would be. What I didn't expect was that the original female lead had awakened. 1 reason 98, I have a fiancé. She is beautiful, kind, well-educated, capable, and our relationship is stable. So tell me, why should I fall for a high school dropout who is reckless, impulsive, and throws herself at me the moment we meet, especially when she is already married with children? Article 99, I'm young, worth billions, and move in exclusive social circles. I can effortlessly navigate any banquet with my fiancé. So tell me, why should I fall in love with some ignorant woman who understands nothing, can do nothing, and only knows how to cry when faced with problems? Article 100, putting all that aside, I have certain cleanliness standards. Right, for 26 years, I've maintained extremely high standards and rigorous self-discipline. So explain to me why I'm supposed to fall for a woman who can't decide between countless men. I find it disgusting. Is that not allowed? I took a deep breath and turned to face the system, a humanoid data construct without facial features. You want to eliminate me for not following the plot, but have you considered that if I did follow it, I'd have to become a brutal, cold-blooded, brainless man? I'd have to break laws, kill people, bankrupt companies, and leave countless workers unemployed, all to fight over that utterly worthless female lead. Recalling that brain-numbing melodramatic plot, I sneered with disdain. For that female lead, I'm supposed to personally destroy my beloved fiancé, fight her family to the death, sever ties with my parents and friends, and all this just to be with her. Am I insane? Does that sound logical to you? Tell me, why would I do this? Forget whether she is even worthy when I could be a normal, productive member of society. Why would I turn into a cold-blooded murderer for her? System, give me one reason why I must follow this plot. Try to convince me. The system fell silent. Even its data-formed face seemed to twist with visible conflict. After a long while, it spoke to me in a mechanized electronic voice, saying it needed to consult their master controller first and asked me to wait a moment. I sat cross-legged on the spot, closing my eyes to rest. Fine, I believe you can provide me with a reasonable solution. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in my office. Checking the time on my phone, I realized I had returned to the first day I took over the company. At this moment, my predestined female lead hasn't appeared yet. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. The negotiation with the system was successful. After consulting its master controller, it granted me a chance to be reborn. Thank goodness, I made it back. I promised to grow old with my fiancé, and I don't want to break that promise to her. Alright, we're not even engaged at this point. Thinking of her, I couldn't help but smile as I opened the messaging app to text her. Starting today, your boyfriend is the legendary domineering CEO. Remember to call me President Reed from now on. She didn't reply. She must be busy at this hour. I snapped a few photos of the office and sent her a handsome selfie. Just as I was about to continue bothering her, my assistant knocked and entered. President Reed, the new product launch is starting in 1 hour at the Sterling Hotel. You can head out now. I nodded. All right, I'll head over now. As I grabbed my car keys, my assistant hesitated. Are you driving yourself? The chauffeur is already waiting downstairs. I decided to drive myself because I knew if the chauffeur drove, we'd inevitably accidentally run into the female lead halfway. According to the plot, I was supposed to let her into the car and take her to the new product launch event. Then backstage at the event, she would presumptuously go to deliver water and spill boiling water on a model, scalding them right before their stage appearance. My girlfriend, as the chief designer, would scold the staff for letting unauthorized people backstage and reprimand the female lead for being reckless. The female lead would only tearfully say sorry, insisting she didn't mean to. I think she was fragile and pitiful while considering my girlfriend unreasonable and aggressive. Then I argue with my own girlfriend for the female lead's sake, driving away the girlfriend who had come specifically to help me. I would gently comfort the female lead upon our first meeting, then defy everyone's objections to let her, who knew nothing, replace the model on the runway. When she stumbled on stage, I rushed to support her despite the crowd's judgment, disregarding the success of the launch event, urging her to keep going. After the failed showcase, I blame all the mistakes on my girlfriend, forcibly terminate our collaboration, and hire the utterly inexperienced female lead as my assistant. Then she keep causing mishaps. I keep comforting her, finding her clumsiness endearing, my protective instincts surging, thus drifting further from my girlfriend until we became outright adversaries. Thinking about the ridiculous original plot, I just want to swear. Whoever wrote this plot must be sick. If I actually did those things, I'd be sick too. But as the male lead, when facing the female lead, I sometimes lose control and follow the script involuntarily. For example, in my previous life, after the driver hit the female lead, I briefly lost my free will and took her to the Sterling Hotel as per the plot. Fortunately, after seeing my girlfriend, I returned to normal and didn't commit the series of absurd acts from the original plot. The female lead couldn't access the backstage, but she sneaked into the audience seats of the fashion show and precisely poured a cup of scalding hot water on me. I temporarily stepped out to treat the burns while the female lead tearfully followed along. With her big eyes wide open, she looked at me with an innocent yet earnest expression and said, "It's my fault you got hurt. I'll definitely take responsibility for you until your injuries heal. I'll take care of all your daily needs." I told her I didn't need it, but she acted like she couldn't understand human language and insisted on taking responsibility for me. Later, she actually tracked down my Villa stole, the maid's uniform, to sneak into my home and took it upon herself to do my laundry, cook, and clean. But being all thumbs, she turned my place upside down, not only giving me food poisoning, but also nearly making my girlfriend misunderstand the situation. Furious, I called the police, yet she had the nerve to act all wronged, claiming I betrayed her kindness. At that time, I didn't know I was the male lead. I simply despised this kind of woman who lacked boundaries and only caused trouble. My loathing for the female lead successfully derailed the original plot by miles, causing the subsequent storyline to collapse, and I was consequently erased. In my previous life, even when I knew nothing, I didn't follow the script. Now that I'm aware of the plot in this life, there's no way in hell I'm going to follow that damn storyline. I managed to avoid the female lead on the road, but I couldn't escape the plot. She still ended up at the Sterling Hotel. While waiting for the elevator, a sudden chill ran down my spine, a bad premonition. Turning my head, I saw the female lead charging toward me with a cup of steaming hot water. What followed unfolded in slow motion. Her left foot tripped over her right, sending her tumbling toward me in an awkward pose while the scalding water arced through the air like scattered petals straight at me. Small potatoes, no panic, tripping into me happened way too often in my past life. If nothing else, my dodging skills have been honed to perfection. I sidestepped, retreated, and took cover behind a man in a suit. The next second, the female lead fell to the ground with a thud. At the same time, a man in front of me hissed in pain. His left arm had been scalded by boiling water. Ignoring the whimpering female lead, I guiltily asked the man who took the misfortune for me, "Are you okay?" The man turned around, his face stern, his demeanor cold, his voice icy. Of course there's a problem. That was boiling water in her hands. Little Reed dodged pretty fast though. I opened my mouth wanting to cry, but having no tears left, had I known it was him in front of me, I wouldn't have dodged at all. Julian Vance, the head of Vance Group, investor of Sterling Hotel, and most crucially, the older brother of my girlfriend, Chloe Vance. He never liked me to begin with, always opposed Chloe being with me. I'd been hoping to make a good impression this time, to improve his opinion of me. Damn, the female lead really is my jinx, for I was about to say something when the female lead got up with a pained groan, her eyes red, as if she suffered some great injustice. With a tearful voice, she apologized to Julian. I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. Clenching her fists at her chest with an innocent expression, she earnestly promised, "It's my fault you got hurt. I'll definitely take responsibility until your injuries heal." Julian didn't even let her finish, pulling out his phone to show her a payment QR code. "Just pay up treatment, plus scar removal later. Give me $600. The female lead, she bit her lip and said she had no money. "I can work to pay off the debt, laundry, cooking, cleaning. I could do anything." Julian calmly put away his phone, unmoved. "I don't need a housekeeper. I'll give you a month. That should be enough time for you to earn the money to compensate me. My assistant will contact you shortly. Also, I hope you have some common sense. Carrying boiling water isn't a good reason to charge around recklessly." The female lead, she lowered her head sadly and began to cry. Julian remained indifferent. Just as the elevator doors opened, he stepped inside without even glancing at me. I glanced at the female lead, who was biting her lip and sniffling while staring at me with pleading eyes. A shiver ran down my spine, and I quickly followed him into the elevator. Outside the elevator, Julian's assistant held the female lead back, preventing her from leaving. "Miss, crying one solve anything you caused our Mr. Vance to get injured. isn't compensation only fair. Mr. Vance is being incredibly kind by only asking for $600. I get docked $500 just for being late once. No money, no problem. Give me $100. And I'll find you a job. No education. That's fine. Waitressing, housekeeping, at least $4,000 a month. Come on, let us discuss the details over here." Just like that, the female lead was dragged away by me. Although I heard Chloe say before that her brother's assistant was someone who could squeeze blood from a stone, seeing him in action today truly lived up to his reputation. Anyway, thanks to Julian and his assistant, the female lead didn't get to cause any more trouble afterward. My first product launch after taking office concluded successfully. When the event ended, Julian and I arrived backstage one after the other. Chloe immediately straightened up when she saw her brother, explaining somewhat guiltily, "Bro, I didn't mean to ignore your advice. It's just that Ethan and I Julian cut her off, but you still didn't listen. I don't have time for explanations now. We'll talk tonight when we get home. Then he turned to me, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Young Master Reed got a moment to chat. As if I had a choice in my past life, I never quite understood why this future brother-in-law of mine despised me. So much it wasn't he until my engagement ceremony with Chloe, when the female lead suddenly appeared and turned everything into chaos, that I finally understood the reason. Before I could prove myself through action, the system erased me. For me, Chloe was my only choice. But to this world, she was merely a supporting character. And as the male lead, I was destined to be entangled with the female lead endlessly. So when the female lead appears, I sometimes find myself controlled by the plot as predetermined settings, even briefly losing self-awareness and doing things that only happened in the original storyline. Although I always snap out of it in time, without causing major disasters to others, especially Julian, I come across as a scumbag who can't decide between two women. What is strange to me is that he disliked me even before the female lead appeared. 5 in the lounge, Julian sat on the sofa, leisurely rolling up his sleeves to apply medicine to his burn, then unhurriedly, he dropped a bombshell. Ethan Reed, you've been reborn, Haven to you. I froze, staring at him in disbelief. He sighed lightly, don't be surprised, because I'm someone who has returned as well. From his words, I learned that the moment he saw me, he knew I was the male lead. And Chloe, including the entire Vance family, were never supposed to have any connection with me. He guessed that his return must have altered the plot, causing 2 unrelated storylines to merge. This was why he and Chloe got to know each other, and fell in love. After the plot changed, both Chloe and the Vance family would become casualties beneath the love story between him and the female lead. He knew the plot involving him and the female lead, and he knew that as the male lead, he would repeatedly hurt Chloe, the supporting female character, for the sake of the heroine. That's why he tried to stop Chloe from being with me. Logically speaking, my rebirth shouldn't affect others' memories, but Julian is simply too clever. Just from my guarded attitude toward the female lead today and how I treated Chloe, he deduced that I had been reborn. After hearing about why I was erased in my previous life, his gaze flickered slightly, finally showing a bit less coldness. In the end, he told me that even if I were reborn, some plot lines couldn't be changed. You were always the male lead bound to the female lead with the highest plot convergence rate, simply avoiding her 1T work. Only by learning to manipulate the plot can you change it. I soon realized he was right. When the female lead appeared in my villa, wearing a maid's uniform, I felt like I swallowed 2 pounds of flies. When she stumbled toward me with a bowl of noodles, I deftly dodged and cursed inwardly. When she whimpered in pain with reddened eyes and looked at me pitifully, I immediately called for the butler. If your old eyes are failing you, with age you might as well retire and go home. What kind of person would you invite into this house? How do you even do your job? The female lead's sobs halted abruptly as she looked at me in confusion. The butler looked momentarily dazed before quickly regaining his composure. He first apologized to me, then instructed someone to swiftly clean up the mess on the floor, and finally fired the female lead in front of everyone. The female lead didn't want to leave. She lunged forward to cling to my leg, but I avoided her. She knelt on the ground, tears streaming down her face like they cost nothing. President Reed, please don't fire me. I promise I'll be more careful in the future, she begged. She said she had no money left and nowhere to live, pleading with me to give her another chance. I knew she was telling the truth, but I didn't care. All I knew was that if I didn't drive her away tomorrow morning, she would get lost in the villa, wearing her pajamas, then stumble into my room and collapse drowsily onto my bed. And I, who was always a light sleeper, would somehow remain completely unaware. At that exact moment, the butler would coincidentally bring Chloe to find me, only to witness the female lead lying disheveled on the same bed with me. If Chloe hadn't been rational enough to listen to my explanation, this kind of misunderstanding would have been impossible to clarify, even with 8 mouths. Moreover, the female lead wasn't truly without options. This novel had numerous male supporting characters, each deeply in love with her and willing to take care of her without hesitation. She claimed she didn't want to rely on men and wished to support herself through her own efforts. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is that she only paid lip service to the idea. Her idea of effort was tripping over herself at the sight of men, constantly causing trouble, making mistakes, and meddling in others' affairs, only to have the male lead and supporting male characters clean up her mess. If it weren't for the male lead and supporting characters bailing her out, I doubt someone like her would survive past the opening chapter. What other men choose to do is none of my concern, but I have no intention of continuing the original plot's forced romance and endless doting. So I remained unmoved by her tears and mercilessly showed her the door. She left, turning back to look at me. Every few steps her eyes filled with deep grievance and even more confusion. I didn't pay attention to her odd behavior, instead focusing on what Julian had said. Use the plot to change the plot. 7. Did you talk to my brother that day? He saw me with you, but actually didn't scold me. In the restaurant, Chloe turned her head to glance at Julian, who was sitting on the other side, dining with the restaurant owner, and quietly asked me in confusion. Today she had some free time, so I took her out on a date. Coincidentally, we ran into Julian, who was also out for a meal. In the past, if he knew Chloe and I were together, he would immediately use his status as her older brother to forcibly take her back, basically never allowing her to be alone with me. This time he caught us red-handed, yet he didn't say much, only reminding Chloe not to return too late. I had no intention of telling Chloe about my rebirth. I just wanted her to remain a carefree little princess. Sincerity is the ultimate weapon. Maybe your brother, since my sincerity, by the way, this eggplant dish is quite delicious. You should eat more. You've lost weight recently. She rolled her eyes at me, talking nonsense with your eyes wide open. I've actually gained 2 pounds recently. As for you, why do you look so haggard? Is the pressure of just taking over the company getting to you, not sleeping well? My brother was the same. When he first took over the company, he lost several pounds back then. Watching her put food in my bowl and urging me to eat more to nourish myself, I felt both touched and amused. But I really haven't been resting. Well, lately, apart from work matters, it's mostly because of the female lead. Her name is Mia Collins. Since this world's plot basically revolves around the male and female leads, about 90% of our storylines overlap. She always appears in every situation I'm in. And her routine, every time she appears, is to cause trouble, apologize, and cry. Without me, the male lead, cleaning up her messes, as in the original plot, those male supporting characters have sprung up like mushrooms after rain, willingly and irrationally helping the female lead deal with various incidents. As far as I know, there are now more than 6 male supporting characters around her. Yet this still doesn't stop her from appearing before me. Just 3 days after I kicked her out of the villa, she became a cleaner in my family's company through the introduction of some male executive. This is the power of the plot. Even if I don't personally bring her to the company as per the storyline, she still manages to get in. On her first day at work, she entered my office. While cleaning, she first shattered the couple's mug I shared with Chloe, then tossed an important document into the shredder and even managed to injure her own hand. When I entered the office, she was standing by the desk, clutching her injured hand and sobbing. The moment I walked in, she immediately hid her hands behind her back, but failed to conceal the injured finger stuttering. She explained, President Reed, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, I'll clean it up right away. According to the plot, I should first call her an idiot, then feel heartbroken while examining her injured hand, abandon an important meeting to take her to the hospital, and accompany her as they bandage a wound that would have healed on its own if we arrived any later. In my past life, controlled by the plot, I had to choose between telling her to get lost or taking her to the hospital, and I opted to make her handle it herself. But now, I ignored her tears and injury entirely, directly summoning the cleaning department supervisor to demand answers. This was completely illogical. My office has always been cleaned by designated staff. Mia, as a newcomer, would never have been assigned here. Sure enough, after a brief moment of confusion, the supervisor's eyes suddenly cleared with realization. Upon learning what Mia had done, he apologized to me while sweating profusely, then scolded Mia harshly before escorting her downstairs. Yet within half an hour, Mia reappeared outside my office wearing her casual clothes again. She was rummaging through the trash, been searching for the shattered fragments of the cup she had broken. When I returned from the meeting, her eyes were red as a rabbit's, and she pleaded with me in a tearful voice, I was the one who broke your cup, and I promise I'll fix it. So, President Reed, please don't fire me, okay? I really need this job. In the original plot, this incident also happened after she returned from the hospital, and she did the same thing. But I pulled her into my arms and scolded her, silly woman. It's just a cup. If it's broken your hands or injured. Don't touch those dirty things. Yet that cup was one Chloe and I made by hand in high school. A one-of-a-kind cup I'd used for years. How could I possibly just let it go like it was nothing? In my previous life, though I was furious, the constraints of the plot prevented me from truly imposing any substantial punishment on the female lead. Instead, I ended up upsetting Chloe by breaking a cup. This time, stop flipping through it. I've already had professionals take it away for restoration. Since you broke my cup, remember to compensate for the repair costs. As for your job, this city has more companies than just mine. My workplace can't accommodate such a clumsy employee. You're fired. Please leave immediately. With that, I turned and walked away under Mia's stunned gaze. Then I heard her muttering to herself, how could this be? Shouldn't he be concerned about my injuries first? At that moment, I understood this female lead must have awakened. Mia had indeed awakened. The old her was truly clumsy, impulsive, and her eyes always held a timid, frightened look like a startled rabbit. Now her gaze was resolute, and everything she did seemed meticulously planned. From my incomplete statistics, she managed to tumble out in front of me from different angles no less than 60 times within just 1 month. Fortunately, I dodged quickly each time, or she would have succeeded in her schemes. Not only that, but she is no longer as passive around other male supporting characters as in the original plot. Instead, she has taken the initiative. She appears to reluctantly accept their care, but in reality, she is effortlessly manipulating those love-blinded men. With male supporting characters backing her up and the plot guiding her way, she always effortlessly appears by my side, recreating all the chance encounters from the original storyline. When it rains and I'm driving, she conveniently forgets her umbrella and inevitably falls right in front of my car. I usually reverse, immediately make a turn without even glancing her way. When I can't drive away, I simply call the police and report her for staging a scam. I was discussing business with clients at tea houses or dinner tables, and she would inevitably be the waitress, either dropping cups or bowls always right in front of me, then looking at me with pitiful teary eyes. I remained indifferent and immediately called the manager, telling them they'd better not hire such a clumsy waitress. When I took Chloe to a banquet, she would always show up, either spilling wine on Chloe's gown or soaking my suit. If Chloe wanted change, she'd cling to me, sniffling and apologizing, saying she could be my companion instead. If I go to change clothes, there's a 100% chance she'll accidentally get drunk and barge into my room. Right now, I'm avoiding her like some kind of auto-detecting radar. Just her coming within 5 meters of me gives me instant goosebumps. What is even more frustrating is that the awakened version of her is way more troublesome than before. Facing her, who also knows the plot, sometimes I can't even hide. For example, in the past month alone, she has come and gone from my company 5 times, and she has even entered my home 3 times. This is the unique protagonist halo that belongs only to her. The moment she stumbles or sheds a tear, every man who sees her can't help but feel heartbroken and unconditionally helps her. That is why the male employees in my company and the male staff at home always end up bringing her to me as if bewitched. It's truly hard to guard against everything, but in the original plot, I was supposed to fall for Mia. First, it should have been me chasing while she fled. How did it get reversed in the original storyline? Mia was a poor yet optimistic girl, prone to tears, yet brave, naive, yet kind-hearted, a clumsy, innocent young woman who stumbled through life. The creators of this world called her the beautiful airhead. No matter how badly she messed up, it didn't matter. She just needed to shed a few tears and men would come rushing to her aid one after another. In her innocence, she remained oblivious to the men's covetous gazes, treating everyone with equal kindness, never realizing how her impartial benevolence drove them wild. They fought tooth and nail in covert and overt battles, each desperate to claim her exclusively. As the domineering, obsessive male lead with overwhelming power, I burned with jealousy whenever she showed kindness to other men, whenever others drew near enough to touch her. Consumed by envy, my nature twisted, I imprisoned her, ruthlessly wielding my family's influence to crush every man she held dear. Whoever she pleads for, I'll destroy. I want to be the only one in her eyes and heart. So she flees, I chase, force love upon her. She keeps fleeing, I keep chasing, forcing love relentlessly. Each time, those who try to help her become casualties in our deadly game of pursuit. To possess her, I become utterly deranged, destroying every safe harbor she seeks, eliminating all who dare protect her. Finally, she stopped running away and returned to my side with our 2 children. Honestly, this plot is fucking ridiculous. Just as I was complaining to Chloe about how annoying it's been dodging this lunatic, lately Mia showed up yet again. She was wearing restaurant work clothes and approaching with a dessert plate. Separated by the curtain, I didn't notice her until it was too late. With an oops, she'd already fallen right on top of me. Because I was sitting, my reaction wasn't quick enough, and I couldn't dodge in time. She firmly wrapped both arms around my waist. She looked up at me from within my embrace, wearing an utterly pitiful expression. President Reed, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't you have any other tricks up your sleeve? I couldn't care less about being a gentleman anymore. I forcefully peeled her off me and threw her to the ground. Before she could speak, I snapped angrily, with a perfectly good path to walk you how to throw yourself at me. If you're going to throw yourself into someone's arms, at least check if you're worthy first. She froze for a moment, tears immediately welling up in her eyes. I didn't do it on purpose. How could you say such things to me? The man at the next table couldn't stand it anymore. He walked over gently, helped Mia up, then glared at me. The girl just accidentally fell on you. It wasn't on purpose. Why do you have to be so harsh with your words? Soon other men joined in speaking up for Mia and accusing me of being petty and bullying a girl. How shameful for a grown man to bully a young girl. You should apologize to her. Exactly, you even push her down. Can't you see? She's crying, apologize right now. See, this is the female lead's halo effect. No matter what she does wrong, as long as she is facing a man, he won't blame her, but instead unconditionally help her. In the original plot, wasn't I the same? Despite loathing this type of person deep down, I was forced by the storyline to dote on and love her unconditionally. Thankfully, I'm no longer a puppet controlled by the plot. Why can't I understand, since she has already awakened, why insist on following the plot? Isn't being free better? Her thoughts are none of my business. I don't have the habit of standing still and taking hits without fighting back. You say she didn't do it on purpose. Where are your eyes? I knocked on my desk, open your eyes wide, and see clearly where am I sitting. She went all the way around just to throw herself at me and cling on tight, and you call that unintentional. Everyone froze, finally noticing how peculiar my seating position was. I was sitting at the very end of this row with a decorative wall. Right behind me, no server would ever need to pass through here to deliver dishes. Moreover, I was seated in the innermost spot with an additional curtain separating this space from the outside. So isn't it absurd that she deliberately carried a plate of desserts we didn't order, walked all the way here, lifted the curtain, took 2 steps inside, only to trip. Someone muttered, could it really have been on purpose? Mia's eyes darted away as she tearfully explained, no, I really didn't mean to, I just took the wrong path, that's all. At that moment, Chloe let out a mocking laugh and slowly stood up. Wrong path, sorry to say, but when you were performing that fall earlier, I happened to be filming my boyfriend eating, caught the whole thing on camera care for everyone to take a look. Mia reached out and knocked Chloe's phone to the ground, then stomped on it several times. Chloe opened her mouth and scoffed, are you insane? This phone cost $2,000, remember to pay me back. Mia cried and said, I didn't do it on purpose. Can you stop being so aggressive? Her actions were obviously deliberate, but with just a few tears, everyone around instantly believed her and turned their accusations toward Chloe. With all those designer clothes, your family must be pretty well off, so why bully a waiter? It's not like they broke your phone on purpose, you're rich enough. Just buy another one, isn't yelling at them going too far. Being a waiter is hard enough, as it is just because you have money doesn't mean you can bully people however you want, does it? Me and Chloe speechless. I was arguing with them when the restaurant owner and Julian came over together. Seeing the Mia immediately lowered her head, sobbing uncontrollably, looking even more pitiful. The restaurant owner first glanced at me and Chloe before turning his gaze to Mia. Excuse me, but who are you? You don't seem to be one of our waitstaff here. Everyone was stunned by these words. Mia froze, stammering for a long time before saying she was just here to help a friend. The restaurant owner glanced at her sleeves and said helplessly, you're wearing my employee Zhang Yin's uniform. Did you steal her clothes? Where is she? Mia couldn't explain clearly and tried to run, but Julian had already called the police when he noticed the commotion. It wasn't until the police arrived that Mia tearfully confessed the truth. So she has been staying at Zhang Yin's place recently, of course. It was Zhang Yin's brother, an insignificant male side character, who brought her home. When she learned that Chloe and I were coming here for dinner, she drugged Zhang Yin with sleeping pills, stole her clothes to pose as a waitress, all just to engineer a chance encounter with me. Everyone fell silent after hearing this, and even those who had defended her earlier shut their mouths. Mia, however, saw nothing wrong with her actions. I just thought she looked exhausted and wanted to help her out. What's so wrong about that? If Zhang Yin weren't currently getting his stomach pumped to the hospital, someone might actually have believed her nonsense. The outcome of this incident was that Mia got detained for 1 month. How ridiculous, this clearly counts as premeditated harm, yet only 1 month of detention, all because that insignificant male side character wouldn't allow his sister to pursue the matter further. Once again, I felt the horror of the plot. The author seems to love portraying their protagonists as legally illiterate, as if the name of true love justifies trampling over others' lives. Fortunately, I didn't become the cruel, cold-blooded male lead from the original plot who disregarded laws. I'm fine, don't worry about me. Once they clear this road, I'll be able to return. The unstable static couldn't mask the concern in Chloe's voice. I saw on the news that the earthquake was really severe. There many buildings collapsed. Are you sure you're okay? I maintained a steady tone, and though I knew she couldn't see me, I still wore a reassuring smile, keeping my voice as light as possible. I got lucky I was outside when the earthquake hit. I'm really fine. If something had happened, how could I be calling you right now? My little princess, just relax and wait for me at home. At most 3 days, I'll return to see you completely unharmed. She believed me after repeatedly reminding me to stay safe and to send her a message every hour to confirm I was okay. She finally hung up the phone. After confirming the call had ended, I let out a sigh and tried to move my leg, which was pinned under a slab of stone, and a sharp pain shot through my calf. It seemed something was wedged in there. I couldn't move it at all. Not far from me, the familiar sound of crying started up again. It was Mia, whom I sharply scolded earlier and who had only stayed quiet for a few minutes. I snapped impatiently. Can you stop crying? Save your energy. There's no water or food here if the rescue team doesn't find us in 3 days. We're all dead. Mia's sobs hitched as she choked out, but I'm scared. She too was pinned by her legs and now began reaching toward me, flailing her arms wildly. President Reed, could you hold my hand just to give me some comfort? Ignoring her plea, I cut in sharply, stay, still cause another collapse, and you're dead. She choked up again and muttered under her breath, I won't die, I'm the female lead, huh? I sneered inwardly. This wasn't a female lead, this was a downright jinx. Anyone who got close to her was doomed. I had come to Havenwood on a business trip, And here, she was again barely 2 weeks out of detention following me to the same city, even staying at the same hotel arranged by the male supporting character. And that very night, an earthquake struck. I could have escaped, but then she suddenly rushed over and shoved me. Reed, be careful, the ground was already shaking when she pushed me down, and the next second our hotel collapsed. We were both buried underneath. Fortunately, there was enough space above us to prevent being crushed into pulp. This was a situation I hadn't anticipated in the original plot. The earthquake was supposed to happen 3 years later, by which time I would have already entered the chase in escape mode with Mia. To avoid me, she would have been living in Havenwood with a male supporting character, bearing him a child while pregnant with another. She lived under an assumed name, spending 2 peaceful years here. At that time, I had lost all reason in my search for her. I blamed the butler for failing to keep watch over her and tortured to death the man who had served our family for 30 years. Those who helped her escape were hunted down one by one, and none met a good end. The scene I remember most vividly was ordering my men to drag a male character who aided Mia behind a car for half a mile, then throwing his half-flayed body into a saltwater pool to suffer. And all I've done is just to find Mia. Not to mention, with my immense authority, how difficult could it be to locate one person? What I can't comprehend is how someone so cruel and cold-blooded could be me. I've always been law-abiding, and while decisive in business, I've consistently prioritized harmony and reasoned persuasion. How could I possibly become the murderous maniac in the author's writing who disregards the law for a woman? But now the earthquake plot has arrived. Originally Mia and the male supporting character were supposed to be trapped in the earthquake zone. When the earthquake struck, the male supporting character would desperately protect Mia, and in his dying moments, he would call to tell me Mia's location, prompting me to rush over and save her. That was meant to be a long-awaited reunion between the male and female leads in the face of life and death, the climax of the story. After that, they actually had a period of happy days together. As a result, we soon parted ways again due to a series of misunderstandings. But now, because Mia chased after me here, she prematurely triggered the earthquake plot. Fortunately, we're the protagonists protected by plot armor and that so-called immortality rule. By dusk on the second day of being buried, rescue teams had already discovered us. I was closer to the rescue team, so naturally, they saved me first. Seeing that I was about to be rescued, Mia panicked. After all, no matter how much she cried these past 2 days, I hadn't responded to her at all, leaving the plot completely stagnant. She tearfully begged me not to leave, saying she was scared alone and pleading for me to stay with her. A rescuer couldn't help but snap at her. Do you think rescue missions are a joke? Do you have any idea how dangerous this place is? I'll get you out soon. Can you stop wailing already? Mia cried. Why are you being so mean? I'm just scared. What did I do wrong? The rescuer forced himself to stay calm and said, everyone is scared. Your screaming is affecting the rescue operation. Only then did Mia shut up. My calf had been pierced by a steel bar, and I was carried to the aid station for treatment. Just as I was about to borrow a phone to let Chloe know I was safe, I heard her slightly trembling voice. I know you're safe now. Go get your wounds treated, you big dummy. I turned around in disbelief to see Chloe standing there in volunteer clothes looking at me with red swollen eyes. Clearly she'd been crying. Behind her stood Julian and the owner of the restaurant we frequented. Julian patted Chloe's head and said softly, you've seen him now. We should go. We didn't come as volunteers just to help him alone. Chloe obediently nodded, then trotted over and planted a kiss on my forehead. I'll go distribute the supplies first and come check on you later. Rest well and no running around. Without waiting for my reply, she followed Julian and the others as they left. Watching her slender yet resolute figure walk away, I felt nothing but warmth filling my heart. This is the girl I truly love. Her heart holds not just personal affections, but also great compassion. In contrast, there's Mia, who was just rescued with nothing more than a scraped knee, yet she is already curled up in the arms of the male supporting character who rushed over crying nonstop. Forget it, there's simply no comparison with supplies and donations from major corporations and society. At large, the disaster situation was quickly stabilized. I was also transferred to Aria City Hospital. Naturally, Mia followed along too. But the original melodramatic hospital scene failed to play out as intended. Because Mia didn't seem as scary as per the original plot, and I hadn't reached the point of being obsessed with her, I wouldn't threaten doctors to prevent her from feeling pain just because she complained, let alone spout nonsense about shutting down the hospital. She did try to cling to me to continue the storyline, but the moment I stepped out, I leaked her hospitalization news to the male supporting characters. Soon those supporting male characters rushed over. They ended up brawling in the hospital over who got to take care of Mia until security escorted them all out, Mia included. At the same time, I received some good news, Chief Reed. We found the person you asked us to locate and have brought them to Aria City. My spirits lifted immediately. Excellent, I thought to myself. Since the female lead has already awakened and disrupted the storyline, I might as well make the plot even more chaotic. In the original plot, it wasn't until I forced Mia to marry me near the end that the male lead discovered she was already married back in her hometown and even had a child. Unwilling to settle for a mundane life and yearning for the excitement of the big city, she abandoned her husband and child, running away with a male teacher who was doing volunteer work in the countryside. Unfortunately, they encountered robbers along the way. The teacher was stabbed while trying to protect her and died. Blessed with the heroine's halo, she was rescued by one of the passing male supporting characters, the younger brother of that very teacher, to fulfill his brother's dying wish. The male lead took Mia to Arya City. Before meeting me, Mia had been living in that male supporting character's home until the male lead fell in love with her clumsy yet innocent nature and vowed to take care of her for the rest of his life. She refused the male supporting character's help, wanting to support herself through her own efforts, and left that place just in time to be spotted by my driver. Thus began an extraordinary romance when Julian reminded me that only by utilizing the plot could we change it. I immediately thought of someone Mia's husband back in her hometown, Steve. In the latter part of the original storyline, when Steve appears, Mia has an inner monologue that proves his position in her heart is anything but ordinary. In my life, I've met many men who seemed kind to me, but in reality, every single one of them forced me into things I couldn't resist them. I could only silently accept. Steve is different. He never forces me to do anything I don't want to do. He's the only one who has ever truly been good to me. Now I often regret it. If only I hadn't yearned for the bustle of the big city. If only I hadn't left my hometown. How wonderful it would have been to stay there then. I could have been with Steve, forever living happily ever after. I would have caused teacher Zhao's death, wouldn't have harmed those who loved me, and would never have met Ethan Reed. I want to deny that between other people and Ethan Reed, I choose Ethan Reed, but when it's Steve on the other side, I truly don't know how to choose. Dear heavens, what crime have I committed? Why must you force me to face such a difficult choice? After much hesitation and anguish, she ultimately chose to go back with Steve. She said she was tired of my domineering and authoritarian ways. She said she was tired of being treated like a caged canary trapped at home. She said she was tired of this bustling city. She said she only wanted to return to the past to live a simple and happy life. At that time, I already loved her to the marrow of my bones. How could I possibly let her leave? So I simply killed Steve too. Right in front of her, I tortured him to death. From then on only, I remained by Mia's side. She pounded my chest with her little fist, calling me crazy, yet quickly composed herself and joyfully walked with me into the hall of matrimony. After marriage, she took my arm and went to the cemetery to visit the male supporting characters I had killed off. She cried and said, "Thank you. Without you, I wouldn't have the happiness I have now. From now on, I will never forget you all." Later, she bore me many children, and each child's name began with Nyen, followed by the names of those male supporting characters. Her favorite children were one she had with Steve and the other named Nyenjong. Since she loved Steve so much, I simply had him found and brought to Arya City along with their child. This time, she wouldn't have to agonize over whom to choose. If she picked Steve, I'd even send them back to their hometown in my private jet. However, what happened next completely exceeded my expectations. It also made me realize that this awakened female lead was far more troublesome than the previous jinx of a heroine, because she didn't hesitate to drive Steve and her own child away, not only divorcing Steve decisively, but also having him beaten up, warning that if he ever bothered her again, she wouldn't be so polite. With male supporting characters backing her up, she made her threats with unwavering confidence. So Steve, whom I gone to great lengths to bring in to alter the plot, was effortlessly dismissed by the female lead just like that. So what does her love for Steve in the original plot even mean? I really don't understand. 13. When my company's project was snatched away, I immediately investigated the competitor's information. One of the male supporting characters, also the person who helped Mia escape in the original plot, and was tortured by me being dragged by a car. His family's financial strength was far from sufficient to compete with mine, yet the investment amount his family put into this project clearly exceeded the valuation of their company. Obviously, someone was backing him from behind. The only family with enough power to rival the Reeds would be the Van Cess. But Julian wouldn't help others against me without reason. When the female lead appeared at the bidding conference with a group of male supporting characters trailing behind her, I thought I had my answer. She wore a designer dress and had meticulously applied makeup, yet her demeanor remained timid and unassertive, exuding an air of pettiness. She walked up to me with her chin raised, fixing me with a resentful gaze as she lowered her voice and said, "Ethan Reed, you've awakened too, haven to you." I played dumb. "What are you talking about?" She frowned, a flash of venom in her eyes. "Stop pretending. If you hadn't awakened, how could you treat me like this? I'm the female lead. You're the male lead. You should unconditionally help me, love me, and spoil me. How dare you treat me like this? In public, rolling my eyes would damage my image. Maintaining a proper smile, I continued playing dumb while looking at her. I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't even know you. And besides, I have a girlfriend. Why should I spoil or love you? Her face twisted slightly, lips trembling with suppressed emotion. It's all because you didn't follow the script that I've had such a hard time lately. I was supposed to live in your villa, sleep on a soft bed, eat delicious food, and be chauffeured around in luxury cars, not slog through odd jobs everywhere. I originally didn't have to lift a finger. You were supposed to take care of everything for me. All I had to do was bask in the affection of everyone around me. You ruined the life that should have been mine. I froze for a moment, then felt utterly speechless. So the life in the original plot was exactly what she wanted. If she liked that kind of life so much, then why the hell did she run away in the first place? Watching the male lead go crazy for her, watching the male supporting characters love her in vain and die for her, does that make her proud? What nonsense, but I have no intention of admitting my rebirth or awakening. I maintained a polite distance, feigning slight confusion with an expression that said, I don't understand what you're talking about. If asked, I'd simply say, I don't know her. My attitude infuriated her, and she gritted her teeth while making threats. I'm telling you, Ethan Reed, if you don't want to take care of me, there are plenty of men who would. If you don't want to be my male lead, then I'll choose one myself. No, I'll choose as many as I want. I'm the female lead of this world, and I decide who the male lead is. This statement actually made me see her in a new light, because that's exactly how I feel too. Who my female lead is, that S for me to decide. 14. I lost this bid. It was as if those supporting players knew my terms and bottom line. Their comprehensive conditions and prices barely edged me out. This project should have rightfully belonged to the Reed family, yet it was snatched away. Just like that, furious, I left with my face ashen. In contrast, Mia was flushed with excitement, her gaze toward me brimming with provocation. She deliberately chased after me just to say one thing. Ethan Reed, do you see now? I am the female lead of this world. I know every plot line of this story, and if I want, I can take everything that belongs to you. I know this project was supposed to be yours, but if I don't want to give it to you, you can't have it. Do you understand? Only by pampering and treating me, well, just like in the original plot, can you become invincible and reach the pinnacle as you were meant to. I can give you one more chance, as long as you obediently play the male lead, take me back to your villa, and treat me, well, like in the original story, then I won't help those side characters steal from you anymore. I feign frustration. What male lead, female lead? I don't understand, and I refuse to believe you can just take everything from me. With that, he stormed off without waiting for her reply. Oh, I was faking it, that S, right? She S the female lead, but she S forgotten her character, setting a caged bird who can only survive by clinging to men. It's true she knew about a few of my projects, but that S only because at this point in the original plot, she was still my assistant, shadowing me in meetings every day. Pity with her intellect, all she grasped were the names and a vague baseline price, nothing more. She had no idea what became of those projects. She thought I couldn't compete with a male supporting character, not realizing I never intended to compete in the first place. After all, why would I want a project that S destined to collapse within 6 months? With my family's vast wealth and enterprise's one failed project wouldn't shake our foundation, but for those male supporting characters, it's a different story altogether. After all, they were collaborating with several parties to swallow a single project whole. If anything went wrong with the project, they'd be doomed beyond redemption. In the subsequent bidding rounds, I lost more than I won, and Mia grew increasingly smug. Those male supporting characters also began getting carried away with their arrogance. Outwardly, I put on a display of impotent rage, but inwardly, I was struggling hard to suppress my laughter. And so on the surface, I endured their suppression for the better part of a year. It was until half a year later that they discovered the problem, but unfortunately, it was already too late. 15. Let me in. I know Ethan Reed. I'm his wife. How dare you stop me? As I drove Chloe to the hotel entrance, I saw Mia dressed in tattered clothes, crying and screaming to get inside. But without an invitation, the security guards barred her way. One of the guards shoved Mia to the ground and sneered, "Today is the engagement of Mr. Reed and the heiress of the Vance family. The hotel is booked out, no invitation, no entry. Miss Vance is the top fashion designer in the country. What are you daring to call yourself?" Mr. Reed's wife stopped daydreaming. Mia scrambled up, her hair disheveled, and charged forward again. She's just a supporting character who soon lose everything. I'm the female lead, Ethan Reed, and I are meant to be together. How dare you stop me, Ethan? Let you get away with this. I'll tell him, and he have you all killed. The security guards simply treated her as a mad woman, dragging her aside, and specifically ordering someone to keep watch, forbidding her from approaching the main gate. I withdrew my gaze, took Chloe's hand, and walked into the hotel with her to attend our engagement ceremony. As for Mia, she must have truly lost her mind. After all, she had thought she could rely on the supporting male character to overthrow me, the male lead. Yet in the end, she discovered that the Reed family, despite having multiple projects snatched away, not only remained standing, but saw their business flourish, their stock soaring, and their market value multiplying several times over. Instead, the companies that snatched away the projects collapsed one after another. They began shifting blame among themselves, accusing each other, and the unity they had built around the female lead instantly fell apart. Mia didn't understand any of this. All she knew was that the male supporting characters who were supposed to dote on her unconditionally weren't as good to her as before. All she knew was that her quality of life had severely declined, and when she cried, the male supporting characters no longer comforted her with the same patience as before. What she found even more unacceptable was that the male supporting characters no longer obeyed her. She resorted to her old tricks, deliberately staying longer at one of the male supporting characters' homes, trying to make the other men jealous and pay more attention to her. However, the male supporting characters were all too preoccupied with their own troubles who had time to care about her. Some even began to sober up, blaming her and believing that without her they wouldn't have ended up in such a state. So Mia, in a fit of anger, left the male supporting characters behind and went to seek comfort from Steve, who was still working in Aria City. But Steve had already divorced her and had now met someone new, living an ordinary, yet happy life. He simply wanted nothing to do with her. The female lead had no choice but to slink back to the male supporting characters. Her reasoning was simple: with a group of people doting on her, she couldn't possibly end up too badly off. Unfortunately, I had cut off all her escape routes. I had someone write an anonymous letter and send it to the families of those male supporting characters, informing them that the reason they lost everything was all thanks to Mia. The male supporting characters influenced by the plot wouldn't do anything to Mia, but their families were a different story. Sure enough, a few months later, those male supporting characters were either sent abroad or confined at home by their families. Mia lost all protection from them. She returned to her original life, forced to rely on herself to survive. Without a man as help, she couldn't accomplish anything, couldn't even find a job. She ended up living under bridges, scavenging discarded food, becoming utterly wretched within just a few months. 16. Ethan Reed, you can't get engaged to her. Mia had barged in after all. She'd stolen a waiter's uniform again and sneaked into the banquet hall where Chloe and I were holding our engagement party. With tears streaming down her face, she cried out loudly, "I'm the female lead, you're the male lead, you're supposed to love me, you're supposed to take care of me for life. How could you get engaged to a supporting female character?" When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in my office. All the guests in the hall looked bewildered, unable to comprehend who this woman who had suddenly rushed onto the stage like a madwoman could be. I calmly signaled for security to come, and not even glancing at Mia. "What the hell are you doing letting any lunatic in here?" The security guards immediately rushed forward to restrain the screaming Mia. "I'm the female lead. I'm the real female lead. You're supposed to marry me." Only then did I glance at Mia. There's only ever been one female lead for me. I tightened my grip on Chloe's hand. Her name is Chloe Vance. "As for you, sorry, who are you again?" With that, I signaled the security to throw her out. "My apologies, everyone. Due to a staff oversight, a madwoman disrupted your enjoyment. Let me propose a toast to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend Chloe's and my engagement party. Let us all wish Ethan Reed and Chloe Vance a lifetime of love and happiness, growing old together in harmony." In the end, I finally got to marry the female lead. I loved Chloe Vance. As for those male supporting characters, although their family businesses were affected, some even went bankrupt, at least they're still alive. As for Mia, having lost the adoration of the male supporting characters, she seemed to have lost her protagonist as Halo. From then on, she truly had to rely on herself to survive. Evidently, she couldn't accept losing her Halo, nor could she manage to live independently. Before long, she went mad. On the streets of Aria City, there appeared a deranged madwoman, crying and laughing hysterically every day. "I'm the female lead. All men in this world must unconditionally dote on me." The end.